it's Natalie.
It's Emily.
Hey y'all, it's Madeline.
And I'm Autumn, and this is TWT.
Hey y'all, welcome to TWT. My name is Madeline, and today we have yet another special guest for y'all. Today's topic will cover one of the biggest questions students have when applying for college, majors. It is a big question on what your major is going to be, since it's not only decide what classes you're going to take, but what your future may look like as well. With me, we have our special guest, Autumn, one of our own TW influencers. So Autumn, I'm sure the audience knows you already from the amazing work you do on our social media pages, but why don't you tell the audience a little about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name's Autumn. So, as Madeline said, I am one of the TW influencers. So, I'm also a second year Doctor of Occupational Therapy student at Texas Women's University here in Denton. So, a little bit about me. I did my undergrad actually at Minnesota State Mankato. I know it's super cold, but I was a collegiate athlete there on scholarship and got my school paid for. So, I'm just excited to be here today.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you. So just diving right into that first question. So what was your major going into college and what is your current major now?
So as I stated earlier, I did my undergrad at Minnesota State Mankato. I'm just going to call it MSU for short. So going into undergrad, I really thought I wanted to be like a physical therapist, right? So my major was exercise science, and I majored in that for my freshman and my sophomore year. But with all the heavy coursework of like the sciences, the chem, the bio, the math, it was absolutely insane. And it really didn't pertain to PT. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to take a step back, withdraw from general chem, and really take a look at what I want to do, because I don't think PT was the route for me. So I actually took the entire summer and I was trying to think about all the things that I really liked. I knew I liked helping people. I knew I liked working with like geriatrics. So my mom was like, well, let's look into this major. It's called community health education. And basically it's like public health. So it's very, very broad. You can kind of go into wellness. You can go basically like kind of owning like your own company. Obviously you have to do like a post grad for that degree. And you can also go into like occupational therapy. So I majored in that for a bit, and I honestly graduated with that degree as well. So I loved it. Loved it. Highly recommend.
That's awesome. So how is that the only time you've changed your major, or did you change it more times?
So I only changed it that one time, and that was my sophomore year, because I really enjoyed the courses, and we had more of like a smaller cohort. When I was a junior, it was, I want to say maybe like 13 of us girls. And we learned a lot about like the public health aspect and grants and kind of how to like communicate with different types of people. And I'll go into like how I kind of discovered OT later, but yes, I've only changed it once.
Awesome. So now that you changed your major, what does your college track look like now? So when I was in high school, my counselors were always like, you have to graduate in 4 years, or it's like even perfect if you do it in less. It was like almost taboo to graduate over 4 years. But once I came here, it was like, oh, it's like normal to graduate in like over 4 years. So has your track changed at all?
Yeah, so when I was an undergrad, so I graduated in 2020. So I graduated high school in 2015. So if you do the math there, I was supposed to graduate in 2019. And I took a fifth year because the reason why I did so like I said, I was a collegiate athlete and I had like two major hip surgeries. I tore my labrum, had to have my left one done and my right one done. So track was definitely in my future on potentially taking a fifth year, but I was on track to graduate in the 4 years, right? I was, even though I, switched my major, I still was in the 4 year aspect. But as I took a step back and I was actually approaching my true fourth year, so my senior year, quote unquote, I had all the courses lined up. I was still a community health major, and my track coach was like, "Hey, Autumn, you have one more year of eligibility. Would you want to take that up?" And I'm like, I don't really have a lot of the course. I'm almost like I'm about to graduate, so I don't know what I would take next. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what I would do. But my mom's like, well, Autumn, when you graduate, what job do you want to go into? And it really hit me like, oh my gosh, this is such a broad major, and nothing against broad majors. Mine was, but I'm like, I don't necessarily know what I want to do. I was a wellness intern at a smaller like rec center in Minnesota. And I loved that. It was more like ergonomics. So looking at like how, when we're sitting at a desk, can we get like more of a raised desk and a water fountain and all this fun stuff for the employees? but I felt like I wasn't making a true impact. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I like? It is life crisis. Like, what am I gonna do? So I ended up taking the 5th year and it worked out perfect because that's when I kind of discovered occupational therapy. I did a lot of research on jobs that I felt like aligned with my personality. I'm very outgoing. I love helping others. I love, working with a broad, lifespan of people. And just so happened that I kind of fell into that. So I knew I needed to get my graduate degree, but I was able to still within that 5th year take extra classes. So it ended up working out perfectly. So with that being said, I did take that extra 5th year. And I know people that have taken the 6th year, 7th year, it really doesn't matter. It only matters what's on your diploma, and that's that degree. So
I love that you mentioned that because my mom says that all the time. Like, it only matters what's on your diploma. Because I feel like I said before, like so many times, like it's perfect if you do it under 4 years and like rush it all. But some people just genuinely, like you said, don't know what they want to do. Like, it's
I
such a hard thing to really think about and
is,
decide. So on to the next question.
yeah.
So when you're first thinking about college, like when you're in maybe even middle school or high school, so what did you originally want to do? Because when I was in middle school, I thought I wanted to go into genetics and I was like, that's what I want to do and study biology. But
Yeah.
after failing my AP, oh, well, almost failing, I almost failed my AP bio class, I realized that maybe biology wasn't really for me. So like, what was like the first thing that you really thought of you were going to
That
study?
makes a lot of sense, actually. And I think when we're so young, I know in this society we're taught like the basics, right? Like you become
Mhm.
a doctor, you become a lawyer, you're a teacher. And so my mom, she was a vet tech for a very long time. And so I saw my mom kind of, work with dogs and work with cats and all that. And I thought at one specific moment in my life, I wanted to become a veterinarian, right? Because that was the next step above that. But looking back, I knew that like I said, I loved always helping and interacting with others. I loved tutoring. I loved, helping my other classmates if they didn't understand, like doing a math problem, right? So then as I started to get into high school, when we were really starting to talk about college, I was like, oh, like I could honestly see myself being a teacher, maybe a middle school or high school teacher, because kids weren't like my jam. Like I can work with kids, but they weren't like my niche, I guess.
Yeah.
So honestly, Madeline, to answer your question, I really did see myself becoming a teacher. I remember even going to the counselor's office and, how we would talk about, careers and jobs and schools that you would need. And say so I'm from Illinois. So if I went to an Illinois college, then I would take the Illinois state exam. So we had all that kind of lined up.
Mhm.
But I feel like in my career, or my soon to be career, I will be a teacher in some aspect because that has never gone away. That stayed with me. But it's just quite crazy how like as life we're like onions, we keep unfolding all these things and then you kind of do
Yeah.
find a niche, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that because I feel like so many people feel like they have to be set in stone. Like once they
Right.
think like they know, and then if they want to change it, it's like, no, I already said I was going to do this. Like it might be harder, but it's like good to like explore all those different options. Like,
Right, right. And I do feel blessed in that sense. But as we go on with this thing called life, like people are always just trying to figure it out. Like I'm not perfect. I'm still trying to figure it out too, like,
sure.
and that's what I think we need to make college more about, not being this perfect person and graduating with under 4 years, or it's like a race. I'm in my own lane. I'm in my own race here. Like no matter how long it takes or no matter how fast it takes, people are just trying to figure it out. And I think we need to give them grace on that.
I love that all these analogies, the onion and the race, like it's all working so well.
Yeah.
I didn't know you're a psych major too. All these
Oh my goodness.
life lessons. So back into like kind of like the idea of like changing your major. So what was the process like really changing your major? What were the steps you had to go through and like maybe how long did the process take?
Yeah, great question. So, and I think this will be really beneficial for everyone who's listening. The
Mhm.
process, I think, can be really daunting.
Yeah.
But in reality, because I know in undergrad, at least at my school, we were always paired with someone who was in our previous major. So for
Mhm.
me, I had a counselor that was in exercise science that kind of oversaw where I was grade wise and whatnot. And I told you after that summer, I actually withdrew from General Chem 2, which was just such a hard class. And I withdrew from it because I knew that my heart wasn't set on going into physical therapy.
Mhm.
And there was this big taboo about putting a withdrawal in your transcript because I was freaked out because I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I go to graduate school and they're going to ask me in an interview, why did I put the
Oh, I
W?
get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I'm going to explain that I did that for myself and my, my mental health, because I knew that why would I set myself up for that if I'm not going to eventually go into that, career path? So basically, after the summer happened, I went to my counselor and I just said, hey, I'm really considering going into this major. And she was like, oh, perfect. And she did a couple little things on her computer and she's like, you should be set to go. Make sure and I was an athlete. So I was able to sign up for the classes first, which shout out to that. Shout out, because so I was lucky in that, but it was seriously such a quick transition. So for all of you listening that are hesitant, just do it. Seriously, you won't regret it. Like, I don't regret it at all.
That's perfect because like I personally don't know, like I haven't changed my major yet. I'm
Right.
still a social work major, so I didn't know what the process was like, but that's extremely good to know that it's like that easy
Very
and it took
efficient.
absolutely no time. And I like how you even mentioned how supportive your counselor seemed. Like she was like, oh, okay, like that's it. Like, because it does, like you said, it does seem daunting, but they're definitely like here to support you if you
Absolutely.
do want to change your major.
Yeah.
So, so why do you think it's taboo for students to want to change their major? Like it's like this idea like, oh my god, it's so taboo, don't do it. But I found out that over 80% of college students actually do change their major. So like I said, I was taught by my high school counselors like, don't change your major,
Oh.
stay on that track. But like, why do you think that it's taboo?
I think it's taboo, and that's again with society. I think it's this whole idea of like social media, you have to be successful by like
Mm-hmm.
your early to mid 20s. You need to stay on track. College is your only route. Granted, I'm biased on education. I think it's beautiful to learn a plethora of information, right? So I'm biased on that, but what I'm not biased is on I think it's so much pressure causing these 17 and 18-year-olds to feel like they all have to have it figured out when reality their parents are still trying to figure it out. We're all trying to figure it out with this thing called life.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think we need to keep doing a better job of breaking that down and say, hey, like go to college without saying go to college and get this 4-year degree, because I feel like it's advertised a lot, and I don't even I love TW because they don't advertise it as such. They just say it's a public
Private
feel for
seal,
a
but
public
public
cause.
cause. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally right, because truly I feel like everyone just says, oh, get that 4-year degree, get that 4-year degree, but then if you don't, you're looked at as like less than, and that's what I don't like. So I
Yeah.
think because I remember when I graduated and I took a 5th year, I felt like I didn't want to tell people I even took a 5th year, because I was around everyone else that graduated in 4 years or graduated in 3, and I felt like not dumb, but I just felt like, dang, like that kind of sucks. But if I didn't take that 5th year, I wouldn't have met the friends that I met. I wouldn't have had the experience I met. I wouldn't have gotten into TWU. It all honestly fell into place. So no regrets there.
Oh, I love that because I feel like we are taught about like everything has to be on the fast track. Like the faster you do this, the faster you can get a job.
Right.
But it's like, are you even going to really like the job if you're just so set in stone on one thing and all doing it so quickly? Also, I feel like college is such like a once in a lifetime thing that it's
Yeah.
like why rush it? Like if these are like such transformative years that it's like really
Right. It's such
like
core memories too. And I love that you said that,
mm-hmm.
because people want to rush college and rush or not stay in the dorms. But it's like I met my best friend through the dorms, and I think TW does a really great job of kind of forming that camaraderie around like all the students, and just trying to get everyone to interact with everyone, because you truly make your greatest friendships, I believe, through college. And why would you want to rush those core years of your life? So that's just
So, do you think it is beneficial for college students to have to declare their major at 18? So, some benefit, I did a little research. So, some benefits that I've found say that, so it's good to like declare it so early that the faster you choose your major, the faster you're able to graduate, and it also gives you a better plan of your classes. However, it can be hard to know what you really want to do when you're a kid. So, like, what are your opinions on that?
yeah. And I'm 25 now and I still feel like I'm a kid. And honestly, I honestly think it hit me when COVID hit, right? I mean, obviously we're still in this pandemic, but really when 2020 hit and there were so many high school seniors, actually, I think you maybe were a part of that. It was
I
kind of
was
this
a
debate.
senior.
Yeah, it was this debate about should students go to a community college because it's during COVID. So, and they could save all that money. And it was this huge
Yeah.
debate on, I remember Facebook, because everyone's like, go to the community college, you're going to save so much money. And I get that, but like, because, and they also said, you know, they're 18. How do they know what they want to do? And I believe like you're 18, but you are able to still make like a sound decision whether or not you want to go to school and whether or not, you know, I think it's a sit down conversation to have with your parents or friends or who's ever there to support you about the finances and the logistics of everything. But I think it honestly blows my mind at, I think it's honestly 17 that you're really having to try to think about what college I want to go to, what I want to major in, because the 17-year-old version of me, yeah, I'm still within me, but I'm not that same person. You know what I mean? So the fact like 17-year-old me would have never imagined I would be getting my doctorate in occupational therapy now. I didn't even know what OT was back in the day. So there's things that I think we, like I said, going back to doctor, teacher, I think social worker, that's also a common one. I think we all think about those type of things. And
Yeah.
then parents and other external factors kind of shape that. And it's like, okay, so my child can do these like 5 things. And then that's all that they're thinking about. They don't think about the other smaller jobs that they can make a lot of money doing. I know tech is a huge thing right now. Like I said, OT is a huge thing. Male nurses, we don't have enough of those. Like there's things that are taboo that I think we need to do more research on for these 18 and 19, 17-year-old kids, to be honest.
No, yeah, for sure, 'cause I feel like they want us to declare a major so young,
Right.
but they don't give us a lot of resources to really know what we want to do.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that, like personally, like I never had like a college counselor, like because I was like a COVID kid, so COVID hit my junior year, so it's not like I had like I didn't go like I just went to like one class and that was it. It's not like I had time to like go talk to a counselor and be like, oh, this is what I want to do. Like I never really had that. But like I bet you even before COVID, they wouldn't have done that.
That, yeah, honestly, yeah, I agree.
So yeah,
Seriously.
I can see like you said, like how hard it can be, but I do agree with the point, like you can make like sound decisions when you are 18. It's definitely
You
like a
can. It's just a
mhm.
lot of pressure, I think, though.
Yeah.
Like, and then you're in that whole like comparison aspect of like if someone took AP classes, that's gonna set them up for success. But I've known plenty of kids that, you know, weren't in the high honors and are doing honestly great things. I think that comes back to, you know, working hard in your classes and how willing you're able to put forth that effort. So it's really interesting, like looking back and whatnot. But yeah, 17 and 18-year-olds are making these big decisions. And honestly, a couple family members of mine, they've graduated from pretty, you know, more prestigious colleges, but they didn't do anything with their degree.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
like because they were so young making a decision and they felt that, you know, pressure not to switch majors. So they kept with the same major and now they're doing something
Yeah.
completely different. So it's interesting, you know.
I felt so moved when I was 17 because I was like, what if I do this and like if I don't use it or it's like I don't want to do it or if I
Yeah.
graduate, I'm like
And then, yeah, no, I get it for sure.
it can definitely be like super stressful.
Hmm.
So, what advice would you give prospective students now if they can't decide a major or don't really know what they want to do with their life right now? So, I know a lot of people who certainly felt a lot of anxiety in high school when it came to really figuring out what they want to do with their life. One of those people was me. So, what advice would you give these prospective students?
So for any of the students, especially looking at TW, I would say either you go into it going undecided, which is always an option. So you're taking a lot of those like general courses and you're kind of getting a feel of what you want. Then after that, even your sophomore year, I knew a couple people in my undergrad that were still undecided and they were figuring it out and they ended up figuring it out. But I would say either that route or you major in something, but I'm really an advocate for doing a lot of volunteer work. So if you're interested in something, and you can even start in high school, like a senior year, and you're going to TWU and say you're majoring in biochem, right? Well, but you're kind of interested in teaching, but your parents are kind of wanting you to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Go off and go shadow a teacher and go shadow a teacher in an elementary school and a middle school and see if you really like it. It's free work to do, but you're also getting a lot of that good experience. And then you can kind of make a checklist of what you like and what you don't like. So I think we need to take more up with a lot of those free volunteer opportunities. I remember I was volunteering at Mayo Clinic, and it was a lot of my time. it was a whole rigorous like interview thing, but it was free, but I've learned so much from it because I was around, doctors, I was around speech, I was around everyone. And it was interesting to see that interdisciplinary team work together. And it kind of allowed me to see what I liked, what I didn't like. Do I like working in a hospital? So I would definitely recommend that for all students incoming. Keep doing volunteer work and see what you like and what you don't like.
I love that you mentioned that because that's actually how I found out I want to become a social work major because I was part of like this volunteer organization in my high school and I became like president and I was like really thinking about what I wanted to do. And I was like, I think I want to be like a social worker. And I always knew I wanted to foster kids as well. So that's really like what made me want to do it.
Oh, yeah, see, and stuff like that. And look where you are now. Like, if you didn't take that opportunity, like, who knows what you would have been doing. So, definitely an advocate for volunteer experience.
Yeah, I probably would have been failing all the bio classes right now if I decided to still be a biology major.
Right. Oh my goodness.
I'd probably drop in all the classes or
It is
failing
tough,
on them.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have one last question for you. So obviously you were once in the shoes of a prospective student really thinking about your major. So kind of flipping the other question around, what advice do you wish you would have heard when you were first having to choose your major?
So both of my parents didn't go to school or didn't go away to college. They went to a community college. My mom just finished up with her associate. So I didn't have a lot of necessarily guidance in regards to, college and whatnot. So I guess I almost wish like they more so would have honed in on it in high school and could have said, "Hey, Autumn, I know maybe you want to do exercise science and PT, but if not, it is okay to go undecided or do more volunteer experience and know it's okay." Because I felt thankfully I had a good group around me that were in support of switching my major, but say I didn't, that's daunting. And then I'm going to stick and pay thousands of dollars for something I don't even like. So going back future, talking to myself, I would definitely say, it's okay, Autumn, and make that major switch because you're going to be a lot happier and you'll be good. And I did it, but it was a lot of, back and forth thinking, what should I do? So.
Yeah, I think that was really good advice. It's funny because my mom always told me, she's like, you should change your major or like, it's okay to change your major. So it's like kind of the opposite.
Which is so good though. Like it should be okay to change your major.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I think it's honestly normal, and we need to normalize it even more.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, y'all. With that being said, all that great advice, that does conclude this episode. So, thank you so much, Autumn, for joining me and talking to us about all things majors. So, if you are one of those people out there who are stressed about choosing your major or even just wanting to change it, do not worry. If you have one takeaway from this, because there are so many people out there in the same boat as you, it is okay to change your major or really don't know what you want to do. So my name is Madeline, and thank you all for listening to yet another podcast of TWT. Until next time, pioneers.